I was working since I was like 14. Like there was like this bizarre telemarketer job that a bunch of my friends did in high school, and they stick you with a piece of paper and you read the piece of paper to somebody. And like to interview for the job was like, read this piece of paper, and you read it, and she's like, okay, when can you start? And we did it after school, and then like one time I was it's so fucking boring I fell asleep, and she said, you can't work anymore. Hi, my name is Dale Talde, and I am the chef founder of Food Crush Hospitality. And today I'll be making black beans with adobo mushrooms. So this dish is really a variation of a Filipino dish that my mom makes from where she's from in the Philippines called Iloilo. And it's originally called KBL, Kajos, Baboy, and Langka. And Kajos is the black beans, Baboy is pig, and Langka means jackfruit. It's like this dark and murky stew. And I think that's what's really cool about adobo is that it means so much to different people. And like adobo is never one of those things when you go out to a Filipino restaurant, you almost never see it on the menu because they always have it at the house. And it was one of my favorite things growing up, and it still is today. So let's get started with the beans. To flavor the beans, we're gonna take some shallots, let's get some garlic. What I like about this dish is that it's such a murky like stew. This is definitely my like bastard version of this. My mom probably would kill me if she knew I was making like a vegetarian. We're going to dice this. What you're making now is your sofrito. I'm gonna smash some chilies. I do like this dish with a certain amount of heat to it because I think it adds a nice bite to, you know, something that's sweet and salty and sour. Chop up some garlic, and like a rough chop is fine. I love Filipino food. I just think sometimes it's a little heavy for me. Like I'm not from the Philippines. I was born and raised in Chicago. You know, so me loving this dish is definitely as a first generation American. I'm just here to kind of like update it, lighten it up, and give a different spin on it because I'm not traditional. This is your sofrito. Onions, shallots, these bird chilies. Being in Southeast Asia, you know, the Philippines does use a fair amount of lemongrass, and I don't think it really shows a lot in some of the dishes, but this flavor profile is definitely necessary. And what we do is smash this lemongrass to release the essential oils. Going with the aromatics. Besides being not overcooking your beans, this is the most important part of this entire dish. Unlike, I think, French cuisine, I was classically French trained. There was always this like softness or this gentleness to cooking out aromatics, make sure they don't get burned or getting too much color on them. You want color in this. You want a toasty garlic, a toasty shallot, a toasty chili in this. And I think that really sets the tone for the entire dish. If you don't cook this long enough, or if you start to add salt in this right now so it doesn't brown, you're never gonna get that intensity of the garlic and the shallot and the chili that you need for this dish to be like really delicious. While we are letting our sofrito cook, we are going to strain our tamarind. Pass this through a sieve. You can eat these pieces, they're just not a great mouthfeel in the dish. Like any tropical places, they have tamarind. So Caribbean islands, Southeast Asia, you know, Mexico, Central America, and it has this really beautiful acidity to it. I don't know if you know anything about Filipino food. They love sour. We love sour. You know, and I think it was a purpose of like preservation. Vinegars, things that were sour, like held better. But I love the way the Filipinos use it in like savory food. So we're gonna add our lemongrass. So we made a mushroom stock. You could definitely use a veg stock here if you wanted to. And we're gonna use this to deglaze the pan and kind of stop the cooking. But we're using mushroom stock to kind of give umami and to mirror the flavors of the trumpet mushrooms we're gonna cook. We've soaked some black beans here in water overnight, and we're gonna drain them, and we're gonna add them to the pot. To this, we're gonna add soy sauce, and we're gonna add all of our tamarind puree. Then we're gonna take canned jackfruit. I like the canned version of jackfruit. I mean, I think getting real like whole jackfruit is such a daunting task to clean and pick ones that are ripe. And this has a really good mouthfeel to it. It's a sturdy fruit that actually when you cook it, it doesn't lose its like integrity. We're just cutting it into like large pieces. Season this, salt, some black pepper. We want to put some more water into this because the beans are gonna soak it up. I mean, the dish is supposed to be brothy and served over rice, so the rice kind of soaks up all the juices. We'll bring this up to a boil, turn it down to a simmer, and then let it cook for about, I think it's like 45 minutes to an hour, just until the beans are just tender. So when you look up adobo in the Philippines, you'll see a basic recipe of vinegar, soy sauce, garlic, onions, bay leaves, and cracked black pepper. But because the Philippines is made of like, I'm not sure how many different provinces and regions, but it is like 7,000 islands, you will find different variances and styles of adobo. You'll see adobo that has coconut milk in it. You'll see like a white adobo that has no soy sauce in it, and you'll see drier ones. This style that we're doing here is from my mom's region. Iloilo is in the Visayas, and that's the southern region of the Philippines. And this is a dry adobo. So if you could imagine, it's almost as if you're pickling the ingredient and then reducing the liquid out of it. So it almost sits in this fat, and it's almost like preserved in this fat. But it's a cooked dish. It's not like pickles. I chose to use like king oyster royal trumpet mushrooms. I just feel like they are the hardiest of the mushrooms out there. They really hold up to a braise, and they feel like you're eating meat. So we're gonna take off the bottoms and then split these in half. In restaurants that I'm at, they clean the outside of these, and I love the idea of keeping these whole because I feel like it adds like even heartier texture to the mushroom. Get the pan ripping hot. We're going to score the mushroom to make it look pretty and to get the vinegar really incorporated or really penetrate the mushroom. And whenever I'm searing mushrooms, I do not season the mushroom because I want to let it get a really great sear on it without it's to kind of release some of its moisture. One of the keys for me is cooking this like you would cook or sear a piece of steak. Hearty amount of oil. So this is coconut oil. Want to stay in this whole world of the Philippines, and they use a lot of coconut there. So let this sear on one side. You've got a healthy amount of oil in here. You might need more. Mushrooms like really soak up oil. That's why I love using mushrooms for this application, because they soak up whatever you're gonna give them. And you can see the pan started with a lot of oil, and you can see the mushrooms already started to eat up into that. So you want this type of color all throughout the mushroom. We're gonna get that on the other side, and we're gonna prep the rest of the aromatics. When you have a normal adobo, my favorite part of like a chicken adobo is actually the onions that have been stewed down in chicken fat and in vinegar. So I'm gonna cut these shallots a little bit big so you actually can like pick them out and you can see they don't lose their integrity. And the garlic, we're just gonna slice. I'm gonna toast off the annatto seed in this oil. We're just gonna bloom them in this oil, and you're gonna see immediately turns this super cool color, right? You see annatto seed show up in a lot of Filipino food. A lot of it's just for color, make something look like that beautiful saffron red, and you don't have saffron. Annatto seed will definitely do the trick. So now we're gonna add the shallots, and that's quite a bit of shallots that I have in here. Probably by weight, almost the same amount to the mushroom. So now we'll add the mushrooms back to the pan, and I guess the most important part, bay leaves we'll add, and then coconut vinegar. What I like to do is add just a bit of water to this to cook this dish out almost dry, like in my mom's very traditional style, where you'll see almost the oil really enrobe the entire dish. And this is a very traditional way of preserving. So now that we have the vinegar in, we can season the dish. Some salt, and you let this stew down and cook down until it's just the oil, the mushrooms, and most of the liquid is gone from this. That'll probably take about 15-20 minutes. That's why I like using this shallow pan with edges, because it can do that very slowly, and you have more control when in a pan like this. Because effectively, you're braising these mushrooms in vinegar. You want something with some high sides to it. When you hear the sizzle, not a lot of liquid left, so it's really kind of just refrying in this. So we're gonna season this with some more pepper, and then we're ready to plate this dish. We have our black beans here. So let's plate up the black beans and jackfruit. So then we'll take a few of these mushrooms and this oil. It's like this really beautiful mushroom oil. And then like any Filipino, we're gonna serve this with some white rice. And I always leave my rice separate, and this is just me. I always leave it separate from my dish. Like, I know a lot of people who would like, oh, why don't you put the rice on the bottom? And I don't know, I like controlling the ratio of rice to beans to mushroom. I like those bites. And that's my version of mushroom adobo with black beans and jackfruit. So I just got a bite of the jackfruit with the beans. There's a sweet and sour note to this dish that I love. I like that the mushrooms, you have to use a knife and fork for them, that they are so kind of meaty and have this beautiful texture to them. And then together you really get the floral sweetness from coconut oil, definite sourness from, the coconut vinegar and the mushroom. I love this. And for the recipe, click the link on the description below.